Hi there, I'm Jeanette Lane, and in today's video I'm sharing a review of the brand new Sizzix Heat Tool. So this is really exciting because Sizzix, as you know, creates high quality die cutting machines and dies, but now they have their own heat tool. They have embossing powders, which are beautiful. Never seen colors like this before. And so I just wanted to share more about the heat tool. Now, a heat tool is definitely something that you need in your stash. You need that for either drying your mediums. If you're doing like mixed media, painting, or watercoloring, it does help to have a heat tool to speed up the drying process of those layers. I get so lazy sometimes, and a heat tool is just, you don't have to wait for your mediums to dry, but it's also good for heat embossing. So let's get started. I have unboxed my heat tool and plugged it in, and it's worth mentioning that it comes with a European adapter. So don't throw that out in case you're ever traveling on the go and you're doing some crafting in Europe, then you have that adapter with you. Here's a close-up look at the heat tool, and I am okay to touch the nozzle here because I haven't turned it on. I haven't used it. But you want to be very careful in case it gets too hot. And it comes with this integrated little kickstand so that you can protect your working surface, and it's going to stand on its own when it's not in use. And then when it is in use, you can just pull that up, put that kickstand, I call it a little kickstand because it reminds me of a bicycle kickstand. So you put your little kickstand back up, and you are good to start your heating or your drying of your wet mediums. Now, if I turn this towards you, you'll see that the tip there kind of looks like a blow dryer, and it has a precision kind of tapered end, and that's going to concentrate the heat onto your project. So whatever you're working on, whether you're melting embossing powders, or if you're working with shrink plastic, or if you're just trying to dry some watercolors that you're working on, then this precision nozzle is going to just blow that. It's not even air, because air doesn't come out. It's just heat. Concentrated heat will come out of that end and help you along. Now, this is a 2-speed heat tool, so there is a low speed, which you can hear it. You'll hear the difference. So there's the low speed, and there is the high speed. The low speed is to reduce the drying time of paints and inks and glues, but the high speed is if you're using, if you're working with shrink plastic, or if you want to cure your embossing powders. And what's great about heat tools is it's not like a blow dryer, so there's not a gust of wind, a rush of wind, or air coming out of the end. It's just heat. And so you want to be very careful about the distance between, obviously, your fingers. So whenever you're using this, do not put your fingers close to it. When you're doing heat embossing, you want to make sure to hold your paper with some tweezers so that your fingers are never close to this, because it does get very hot. Now it's time to show you the heat tool in action. So I'm going to do some heat embossing, some simple heat embossing, and I'm going to grab my stamp set, and I have some bright teal colored cardstock, and I have my floral stamps, and this is just from my stash. This is from Card Making Magic. So I'm going to grab one of these floral stamps, and I'm going to be using one of the colors from the brand new Sizzix Embossing Powders. Okay, so now I'm going to ink up my stamp with some embossing ink, and this is special ink, sticky ink, to get your embossing powders to fuse to your stamped image, and then eventually you're going to melt that with your heat tool. So just getting my stamp nice and inky, and I'm just going to stamp randomly across my teal cardstock. So you can see that faint design of the flowers, just a little faint flower there, floral pattern. All right, I'm happy with that. And now we're going to grab a piece of scrap paper and sprinkle our embossing powder on top. So I'm going to be using cobblestone, and again, this is one of the new Sizzix embossing powder colors. Now, I tend to be very liberal with my embossing powder because what you end up doing is you just save the rest of it. So you put that right over a piece of scrap paper, and then just shake off the excess, kind of give it a flick. Flick will do. Now it's time to cure our embossing powder, and I'm going to set this on the higher speed, which is for heat embossing. So here is the results of our beautiful heat embossing. That was really quick. I thought that melted the embossing powders rather quickly, and you may have noticed that my card wanted to warp a little bit, but if that happens, all you have to do is just flip this over and just put a little bit of heat on the back side, and it should warp it back into place. But that does sometimes happen when your heat tool is very hot, which you want it to be hot because it'll melt your embossing powders. You're not gonna have to wait forever for that to melt and cure. And again, I was really happy with the results of the embossing powder, which again was in the color Cobblestone. Now, something else that I like about this heat tool and I wanted to mention is the color of the nozzle, which you might not think that's a big deal, but I have another heat tool with a clear nozzle, and I can't tell you the amount of times that I've accidentally swiped my heat tool onto my surface, ruining my embossing because I can't, I don't know, you kind of can't see it because it's clear, so you can't really see where it ends. I don't know, it plays with my eyes, but this one, it's very clear to see where the heat tool ends and how far you are from your card stock. So you don't want to ruin your embossing or your stamping. So it's very helpful that this is in the color gray. I can see clearly where it starts, where it ends. So that's very helpful too. Next, I want to show the lower setting and how that's meant to be used for drying your mediums. So I have some Cosmic Shimmer ink spray. So this is just some water reactive ink spray. So I have a piece of white cardstock here, and I'm going to put this other piece of scrap paper here so that I don't get it all inky, and I'm just going to spritz this kind of liberally. It's a really vibrant blue color, but you can see it's very wet. So we're going to dry this on the lowest speed of our heat tool, of our Sizzix heat tool. So I'm turning it on at the lowest speed, and I'm going to grab some tweezers just to hold this down so that I don't burn my fingers, because again, you want to keep your fingers at a distance from the nozzle. So here is our ink spray all dry. It's dry to the touch. If you had let that air dry, it would have taken at least 30 minutes because it was so saturated, but it dried it very quickly on the lowest setting of our heat tool. Overall, I'm really happy with the Sizzix Heat Tool. I didn't think that it was very loud, even on the highest setting. It's also very lightweight, which is good. And you can get your own Sizzix Heat Tool at craftstash.co.uk. And we would love to hear from you as well. Let us know if you have tried the new Sizzix Heat Tool, or let us know what your favorite heat tool is. And if you have any questions at all about this heat tool, let us know in the comments. I'm Jeanette Lane. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.